to tell a story. There were a lot of hands up. Yeah. So I wrote a few stories down from his life too. The first category is shoes. And he sold shoes for over 25 years and served many people. So many mentioned and reached out about having such a great experience with him at the store. He even made trips to the state hospital and fit patients with new shoes. Working for him, if I waited on someone and didn't make a sale, he'd meet me in the back and say, what did they want that we didn't have? It wasn't. When he waited on kids, he would ask, do you want to come home with me? You can have your own dog, your own cat, and your own horse. There's a category about 4-H and kids and mentoring and judging. So many county fairs, state fairs, generations of kids going through his leadership. 30 years is a long time, a lot of kids and a lot of coaching. He led a stellar club. He also judged many a horse show, and he spent most weekends during show season going somewhere. For my brothers and I, he was our first coach, and our arena was a summer polo field with lots of circles around it. He loved to show and have his kids and eventually 4-H kids be in the show. You can't think about him without sports. He was an avid sports watcher. He watched the Huskers, of course I'm going to say that first, from Nebraska. He watched K-State, he watched Duke basketball, and above all, he loved the Bison. Don't bother him if that was on the TV schedule. He was known to call his grandkids and friends and bet them a dime on a game that they were interested in. He didn't care if he won, but he just wanted to interact with them about their favorite team. Because he was a basketball referee, he had a keen eye for detail, and a few of our grandkids have the same eye. He loved to tell the story about having to stop the basketball game at the Cleveland High School because his 3 kids were on the court. Coffee shops were a big thing for him. He hung at quite a few of them. Hardee's, White Drug in the day, it didn't matter. He could create a crowd or join one. Arizona, one of his favorite places. He loved spending winters there for the past 15 years and all of the friends and social things that they were able to do. His golf cart was his great mode of transportation and a way to know everyone in the court. That's why he was named the mayor. Being near to his brother Gary for 6 months was a beautiful thing. They talked on the phone almost daily and sometimes several times a day. His grandkids, he said often, who would have believed that 2 farm kids from Windsor could have started all of this? Especially when we happened to work it out to be together for a picture. Everyone is so spread out that it wasn't that often. He did love his grandkids. Card playing. Pinochle was his game. In younger days, it was smear. He remembered most every card and put a lot of pressure on his partners. Oh, and he was loud. Farming and animals. His big love. He enjoyed being outdoors and doing chores. Whether it was harvest or baling or raking hay, he was involved with the Troutman and the Anderson farm. Stall cleaning was a chore he involved all of us in. There's the Cleveland farm story that Greg shared. I have to read it because it's really well written. 6 or 7 years ago, when Bob was still getting around pretty well, Mom and Dad were having a small invasion of raccoons, robbing their bird feeders right in front of the farmhouse. Of course, they couldn't stand for that. So Bob took matters into his own hands and he grabbed a shotgun. A couple of shots later, the raccoons were safe, but now there were several pellet holes in the front window. after which Bob was allowed to keep the guns, but they took away the bullets. That fall, the Wisconsin duck hunting crew and Roger replaced the front window with an upgraded larger one. Now it's much easier to view the birds at the feeders. The moral of the story, we should have had Bob shoot the window out many years before. Yeah. Horse training. Before YouTube, he watched hours and hours of horses in the ring and clinics that were live. He read magazine after magazine. He knew all the bloodlines and the point totals. My mom, this is her category, was his constant sidekick. And he relied on her for many things. She was his chore buddy, his 4-H rule keeper, his secretary. I'm thankful they enjoyed the same things. 67 years is a long time. And when you heard the story of how they met at the fair, Stetson County Fair, and how Bob's cousin Denny Shelkey put Limburger cheese on the manifold and they left that February day and it smelled awful. He said often how much he loved her and appreciated all the ways that she took care of him. He's been sick for a long time. He often referred to my mom being tougher than a boiled owl, but I would say all of us think he was. He had 9 lives and he was ornery enough to come back over and over again. On one of my trips to Cleveland, I asked him if he knew what heaven was like. And he said, no, I really don't. So I described the peace of no sickness, no tears, no walkers, no kidneys that don't work. I told him there was even a tree that had all kinds of fruit on it at the same time, and a huge mansion that had room for everyone. He said, no kidding? How do you know that? And I got to show him where in the Bible that was. He told me that he was afraid he would lose interest. I think that was Hollywood, you know, all the angels floating around. Until I told him that there were horses in heaven and that Jesus was going to come riding back one day on a white one. Then he perked up. We ended that conversation that day with him telling me that he believed in the hope of heaven because of what Jesus did dying for our sins. I do look forward to the day when I can know him there, without pain, without sickness, and without sadness. So thank you all for coming. We'd love to hear your stories at lunch too. We've been hearing them all weekend actually. And we can connect with lunch, and thank you all so much for being here.